Centamac Realty. I always forgot to say my name today. I'll remember to say my name. Uh, this is another edition of the Real Biz Academy, aka Centamac's weekly sales training, and that is real estate sales training. If you are from YouTube, from the Real Biz Academy, or you're from Facebook, hello Amy, hi Maria, or you're from Twitch, you're welcome to join us in the chat room. I promise I'll say hello to you. And today we'll have 4 topics as usual. And the 4 topics are exciting topics. To me, at least, I think those are exciting topics. First one is lead follow-up. I myself have not been doing a great job for lead follow-up. When I was really into prospecting, even when I was doing lead prospecting, I wasn't too great with lead follow-up anyway. I think I could have made a lot more money if I was doing a better job on lead follow-up, but that's okay. We can all learn about lead follow-up today. And secondly, I want to share with you about how to win friends and influence people. Principle number 6 or rule number 6. A person's name is to that person the sweetest sound in the world. You could lose a customer if you mispronounce the name. And worse still, you call them by the wrong name. I learned that the hard way. Okay. So we should all do a better job in calling people's name. Okay. The third topic will be about Zipforms. Today we're going to learn about how you can make use of clauses to improve efficiency, also to avoid legal trouble. I've been contacting Lone Wolf, who bought ZipLogics. I didn't know who Lone Wolf was until I started using more and more of Zipforms. But I can tell you though, their service really sucks. I've been trying to get a hold of somebody for the last 2 weeks to convert my agent's account to broker account so I can go ahead and do things globally. I can share templates with you. I can share clauses with you so you don't have to write your own clauses. Wouldn't you rather have the clauses come from me, a real estate attorney of 27 years, who has drafted many different contracts before? Or would you rather do it yourself and it looks non-professional? Certainly you want your important clauses to look professional, right? The ones that you put in the, wow, we got a lot of people here. Jennifer, Justin, Kathy, of course, Win. And who else we got here? Brian and Feng Jiao and Amy. Well, welcome, Maria. So we're just talking about clauses. Sam, welcome. I can create some good clauses for you. I have received my training to draft contracts. I think with that I'm qualified to draft legal clauses, I think. Some of these clauses I borrow from some of the other folks, but I modify them to my own use. The fourth topic for the day has to do with using unlicensed assistants. Why I think that is an important topic is because we need to stay competitive. If you want to stay competitive, we need to operate more efficiently. We need to use the least amount of money and have the best resources we can find. I'll tell you though. Hello, Carrie. I'll tell you though, having used virtual assistants in the Philippines for over 3 months now. I got 2 virtual assistants. One of them is I got 4 right now. I got 1 video editor, 2 admin assistants. Well, actually, I have 3 admin assistants and 1 video editor. They're all virtual assistants. The assistants are not licensed, but they can perform certain tasks for you. Working as TC for sure. You don't need to be a licensed salesperson to be a TC. I was shocked and surprised to get messages from some of you who are salesperson and you want to offer your service as a TC. To that I say no. Why are you getting your real estate license if you want to work as a TC? You don't need to have a licensed person to be a transaction coordinator. I can tell you that. You don't need. They can be trained. Some of the training that you can give to the unlicensed assistant includes telling them when they should use certain forms, how they're going to complete the forms, because if they go through your transaction, they see something that is not right, they'll be able to bring to your attention and help you decide how you're going to fill out your form. Also, if they go through your forms and they see certain red flags, they'll bring to my attention. They can be trained to do all of these things. They don't need to be licensed. They are not allowed to give legal advice, and they are not performing work that requires a license. So we're going to talk about that. What kind of work can an unlicensed assistant do for you legally? Okay, all right, let's go ahead and start with the first topic of the day, which is this one right here. Mike Ferry, he's an excellent coach. There are a lot of things that Mike Ferry says makes perfect sense to me. It's like the longer I've known Mike Ferry's system, the more I feel like whatever he's telling us makes a lot of sense. We should, listen to what he has to say, and then we should digest and see if it makes a lot of sense to you. If it makes sense to you, adopt it, use it to your advantage. Not everything that he says I agree with him, but the majority of what he says makes a lot of sense. So he has 6 thoughts on successful lead follow-up I want to share with you. The first one, every lead is a good lead. That is a mindset problem. Sometimes we blame a lead for our inability to convert the lead. So if you can't convert a lead, that is a bad lead. Well, not necessarily. Now, if you have bad skills, let's see here. Yeah, I think I'm okay. Hello, Nick. So if you have bad skills, we blame it on the lead, a bad lead. Well, a bad lead is when you have an unmotivated lead. That is a bad lead. But once you identify the lead's motivation, if the motivation is there, it's a good lead. Don't blame it on them when you should be the one that should be blamed. They wouldn't give their name and number to you if they don't want you to call them. So why are we afraid of calling our leads when they are the one that gave you their name and phone number? Obviously, if they don't want you to call them, they will never give you their phone number in the first place. Such as when we're making cold call. When we make cold call to people, sometimes they they have the right to say no to us because we never had their permission to get their name as well as phone number. But if I'm a lead, I give you my name and phone number, Am I not giving you permission to call me? Of course, I'm giving you the permission. You call me, I would not say, well, Kenny, you weren't supposed to call me. Of course, you have to call them at the right time. Sometimes timing is not it's not right. So every lead is a good lead, and be respectful, but be aggressive. I think that separates the salespersons from the non-salespersons. The salespersons are the ones that are aggressive. I know some of our successful salespersons, why they are so successful. Because they are aggressive. You know, some people you may not like them because of their personality, but you can't deny that they are very good salesperson. I'll tell you my personal experience with a couple of ex-agents that we had. Hello, William. Good morning. Elizabeth Wu, Michael Yu. Of course, you guys remember him. He is a very aggressive salesperson. Elizabeth Wu, she was a go-getter. You know, you give him a name and phone number, you can bet that she is very aggressive in making, because I'm the recipient of it, so I know how aggressive she is and how aggressive Michael was. I was working with Michael side by side for nearly a year, so I know how aggressive Michael was. He was very aggressive. His lead follow-up was excellent. Okay, now you sometimes we're afraid of calling people because we're afraid that people might think we are too aggressive. Well, would you rather be aggressive and be told that you're too aggressive, or would you rather be passive, and then when you call that lead about a possible sale, he or she told you that, oh, but I've got already listed my property. You know how many times that had happened to me? Many times. If you are aggressive and you fail, that's fine. You move on to the next one. Don't worry about being aggressive. If you're not aggressive, I would have to say all the ones that are productive are aggressive. Being aggressive doesn't mean you are disrespectful of the prospect. You can be respectful and yet aggressive. So if you call up a person asking them, hey, do you still want to sell your home, or do you still need to sell your home? Is that a disrespectful question? No way. That is telling. Sometimes I get told, when Michael and I were working together, and one day we sat down with the seller. The seller told us, and that was a property in Moreno Valley. Seller told us, you got the job because of your E&E, energy and enthusiasm. Okay, of course, that is related to being aggressive as well. How can you demonstrate E&E without being aggressive? No way. Because when you show so much enthusiasm and energy by calling the person back or calling the person a few times in a week, that's not only being aggressive, but it shows the enthusiasm, right? So if you're not enthusiastic about a job, why should they give you the job? They might as well give it to someone else that is more enthusiastic. You see, that's why that separates a salesperson from a non-salesperson. There are many of us. When I first entered real estate, I wasn't a salesperson. Okay. I wasn't good with sales and everything, but I had to learn the hard way. Okay, I figured it out myself. So you got to be aggressive. Non-aggressive, sorry, you're going to lose a lot of leads if you are not aggressive enough. I'll tell you, though, there is of course, there are limits as to how frequently you can call a person. You don't want to be calling them like every minute. That's way too much. Okay. All right, tip number 2. it says discover their motivation. Sorry for the typo there. It should be discover their motivation. Sales is a numbers game. You know, you don't hang on to leads that don't have motivation. So one of the first few things you're going to discover when you call a total stranger, you want to discover their motivation. If the person don't have the motivation to sell, why are you wasting time with them? You could, that's why that separates between prospecting and social media. Social media, it's less direct. It's more about rapport building. I know about that too because my VA spends a lot of time on social media. I let them do the work, okay? I just monitor their activities from time to time. But as a salesperson, you gotta discover their motivation. Now, everybody talks about real estate. Not everybody does anything about real estate. You want to make use of your time efficiently. If you want to do sales, then do sales. You can, if you're satisfied with 3 to 5 transactions a year, that's okay. Then, you do whatever you want to do. But if you want to be highly successful, you want to do like 15, 20, or even 30 transactions. You gotta make best use of your time. Discover their motivation. If you call them up, it doesn't sound like they are moving, they have any plan to move, then don't spend too much time with them. I've had sellers or prospective seller that told me, hey, Kenny, I'm not planning to sell my home right now. But you sound so good on the phone. If you will leave me your name and phone number, I will call you when I'm ready. Now, when you get a lead like that, you want to put in on your notepad, this is what you had in the conversation. So this particular person actually called me back in 3 months and asked me to come list his property. I wind up listing it and sold it, and we still remain friends. But I would not be calling him a lot because he wasn't ready to sell. That's where the drip campaign come in. If a person that is not a good lead, but the person wants to maintain that relationship with you, you can set them up in the email campaign. Give them emails or market updates. This should show them that, to let them know that you are there and you can provide your services to them if they need your services. Okay, those are good for drip campaigns, but you need to have a pipeline of prospects if you want to do more transactions in a year. An average agent don't do that many. That's because an average agent is not a good salesperson. The money is in the follow-up. If you can follow up aggressively on the right prospect, you're going to find yourself doing more and more transactions. If you don't even follow up like me, sometimes my issue is that, I just have too many things on my plate right now. Okay, I'm relying on you guys to follow up. So if you get a lead, you got to aggressively follow up. Okay, all right, let's go to the third point that Mike was trying to tell us. Score your leads. Stop nurturing. Take action. Sales is a numbers game. It has always been a numbers game. If you make more phone calls, you're more likely to get more leads. If you make less phone calls, you're getting less leads. Don't expect them to call you, because if you wait for them to call you, they might be called by another more aggressive agent, and those agents are going to get their business. not you, the one who's waiting there, who's nurturing. How do you nurture a lead? Okay, you send them uh, listings. But I think the more important thing is that after you send them the listings, you got to call them up and ask the important questions. Okay, I will go over the important questions afterwards. You got to stop. You have to score. By that, my fairy meant is it a 1 or is it a 10? 1 means that the person has absolutely no motivation to sell. You'll be wasting your precious time on them. 10 is that the guy has to sell right away. Or the guy, it's an 8 or 9. The 8, 9, and the 10 are the ones you have to follow up aggressively. Don't waste your time on the 1 yet until they become an 8, 9, or 10. Those are the ones that the 1s and the 2s, if you like, because if they give you their email contact, if you like, you can put them on a drip campaign. Mike says, take action. What are you doing? Waiting for the 8, 9, and 10 to call you and you don't call them? No, you call them and ask the right follow-up question. Okay? And there is a script for that. I'll perhaps show you the script afterwards. All right, number 4. Does your lead follow-up system set you up for success? We don't get paid to manage leads. We get paid to go on appointment. My fairy has always promoted the 3x5 cards. He hates it when people call him old school. I think if you can maintain the 3x5 cards, that is not a bad thing. But with technology so advanced these days, you may be able to set it up on your iPhone. You can do your lead management on your iPhone if you have the right software to do it. Certain people hate writing stuff on cards. I'm one of them. I don't like to write stuff on cards. But if I don't have a system to manage my leads, I'm not making use of my time efficiently. So I gotta have a system. So the 3x5 card, what Mike is suggesting is that on the left-hand side, you put down the name of the person, the email address, and the phone number. On the right-hand side, Mike suggests that you write down the letter B for buyer or letter S for seller. And also on the right-hand side, Mike suggests a date that you put on the card, the date you want to throw away the lead. In the beginning, we're all reluctant to throw away leads. But the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. We should have a throwaway date written on that card. That way we don't even think about it anymore. Now, some people are asking me, why are you terminating your agents? Just because they don't communicate with you or they don't get involved with company activities. The same idea. If that person is of no use to me, I throw it away. I terminate it. Okay? So you don't wait for one day the guy is going to call you. Well, before the guy called you, the guy probably had been called by another person. In my case, if it's one of those agents on my roster, they don't call me and I decide not to call them. Some days they're going to get a prospecting call from a broker and they're going to leave me anyway. So I might as well remove them so I don't have to think about them. Very similar to the My Ferris 3x5 cards. If that lead is a dead lead, throw it away. You got to have a date on your card if you're planning on using the 3x5 card. Is a throwaway date. My fairy gave a joke about an agent that put the throwaway date as 2 years from the day he established the card, 2 years, that is pointless. This person is either going to buy your services or they are not going to buy your services. So I think the purpose of the 3x5 card is to make sure you're only dealing with leads that you can make money off of. Because if you don't, you keep stacking up the cards, very soon it becomes so thick that it's very time consuming to manage these leads. So put a throwaway date. I think he recommends like 7 to 10 days. That's his standard. I don't know if I can hold myself to that standard, but I think about it. If the person is an 8, 9, or 10, after 10 days, if you don't result in any kind of contract for that person, most likely that person has gone with another agent anyway. Why do you keep that person's card? You throw it away. Okay. We don't get paid to manage leads. We get paid to go for appointments. We got to go for appointments. Number 5, non-salesperson build rapport. Professional salesperson ask questions. Well, this is the one where I disagree with Mike to some extent. I think in any sales situation, I agree with Jordan Belfort. It's extremely important to build rapport. I think you can't just be asking questions without building the rapport. Part of the reason why you want to ask questions is because you want to build rapport by asking questions. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I had a listing in Napa, and I think I did a pretty good job at the listing presentation. And this person had a real estate license that expired, and his ex-wife had an active real estate license. And I still got the listings. Why? I think rapport has a lot to do with it. And there's a lot of NLP involved in building rapport, which I'll share with you some other days, not today. Okay? But I think what Mike wants to stress is that we tend to not be aggressive enough and ask the right question. Sometimes we're afraid of asking a question because we're afraid of getting rejected. So if you don't ask, you don't get rejected, that kind of mindset. I think that's not the mindset of a salesperson, by the way. Okay, that's what Mike is saying. A professional salesperson, they ask the right question so that they can decide what to do with the lead. If you don't even pop the right question, you don't know what kind of motivation they have. Okay, that's why when they do the lead follow-up, the first question is, do you still have to sell your home? Or the first question is, do you still have to buy your home? And the answer is, oh, I can't buy any homes right now. I have to wait until next year. Okay, right now motivation is a big concern, right? A lot of things can happen in a year. So that is a person that you should downgrade to perhaps 1, 2, 3, or 4. Unless you ask a couple more questions, such as finding out why does the person think that they can't buy a home this year, it has to be next year. If they have not been talking to a loan agent, they felt that they could not qualify. In fact, they could. You could find out more and maybe solve their problem. If you can solve their problem, maybe you can reassess their motivation. So I think by asking a couple more questions, that's why Mike Ferry stresses asking questions, because you can do some intelligence. I think asking questions is also building rapport, depending on how you ask it. You have to ask it in a way that is non-intrusive. If you are being intrusive, at least if the other person is getting the impression that you're being intrusive, they will stop answering your question. So how you say it is very, very important. Uh, you have to ask questions with the right tonality so they don't feel threatened. If they feel threatened, they clamped up and you won't be able to penetrate anymore. Okay, so you gotta use the right tonality if you're trying to gather information. Okay, tonality is something that you can practice on. Some people are monotones. The monotones would have a harder time doing sales. The people that are very good with singing, okay, they are much better in their tonality when they talk. Tonality consists of different items, but I don't have time to get into it. Maybe next time. Okay. All right. Asking questions builds rapport. That's my conclusion. Number 6, stop wasting your time, energy, and money. Don't prospect and not follow up. This is a very good pointer. When I was heavily prospecting, one of my biggest problem was I kept prospecting and I did a lousy job follow up. What happened was because every day I get a fresh list. So when things were when we got a lot of names and phone numbers to call, we tend to want immediate results. So the ones that require a certain amount of follow up, for example, you might call a prospect. You go through the script, you find out that the person is not thinking about selling until 3 months later, and they give you a reason why. If you understand the reason, well, what are you going to do with this person 3 months later? Should this person be still on your radar? My fairy says no. Okay, and I think I agree with him on that. 3 months is a long time. Okay, unless it's one of those situations where the person actually wants to do business with you, he's just not ready yet. You can find out, and you give them your name and a phone number. Otherwise, stop wasting your time and energy and money on somebody who's not ready to sell or buy. And the reason why you want to do that is because sales is a numbers game. So you want to discover people who are in the 8, 9, and 10 in terms of your scorecard for motivation. Because you may say that, well, Kenny, if I send out a drip campaign, I'm not wasting a lot of time. But that's still time, though, because, you have to set him up, in your CRM, and then set up your system. So what are you going to say to this person in your drip campaign? It's probably something pretty standard. And they one look at it, and they might say, you know what, this is canned. I don't like canned email drip campaign, so they don't pay attention to you. So instead of setting up a drip campaign, it might be better you just call 3 times. My fairy has a 3-3-3 rule. You let the phone ring no more than 3 times, and then you hang up. You follow up on the lead maximum 3 times. And if you don't end up with a sale, forget them. Move on to the next one. And I forgot what the last 3 is. I'll tell you later. Okay. Yeah, it is a numbers game. There's so many people you can call. Don't call on the weak lead and follow up on the 1, 2, and the 3. You want to follow up aggressively on the 8, 9, and 10. I would say that. Okay. All right. So much for lead follow up. Now we're gonna have to move to a different topic now. That second topic is this one: how to win friends and influence people. This book makes a lot of sense to me. A lot of the things that we do today, The principles that we learn today, they were created hundreds of years ago, long time ago. Not hundreds of years, but within this decade. Hello, Lily. Where were you when I was talking about lead follow up? Maybe you don't need any lead follow up. You're going to be doing about 36 transactions this year. Good for you. All right, how to win friends and influence people. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Oops, what did I do? Oh, rule number 6. We are on to rule number 6 now. It says that remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. I want to share with you my personal mistake. And it happened recently, and that was totally inexcusable. I had a listing prospect in Oakland. That person found me through my YouTube channel. And by the way, it has nothing to do with any of the agents that are doing YouTube videos with me. This is one of my followers on my Chinese YouTube channel. One day she contacted me, and I think she was motivated to call me because she watched one of my videos. And that's the one involving landlord tenants. And she had a tenant issue, but she wasn't ready to sell though, because she needed to make sure that the tax law works for her. Based on the tax law, she thought that she could not close escrow until end of 2021. But at that time, she sent me a WeChat message indicating that she was interested in listing with me. And then I didn't hear back from her for a while, because for a person like that, I would not do any follow-up, because her strongest motivation, because the property is empty, okay, and the tenant moved out, but the tenant left a vehicle in the garage. So naturally, being a lawyer, one of the services I offered was to resolve the vehicle left in the garage issue for her, so that she has a peace of mind in getting the property sold. And she said that she wanted to give the tenant until June 30th to get the property sold. At that time, when she contacted me, I think it's probably around March or April. So it wasn't really a strong lead for me, okay? And I just kind of left it at that. And one day, she actually contacted me again and asked me to come down to see her property. And I said, I told you earlier, a salesperson asks questions. You don't build rapport. So first couple of questions I asked her was, are you ready to sell now? Okay. And she replied and said, I'm not really ready to sell now. I just want you to come over to my house to tell me what my property is worth. Of course, when I heard something like that, what went through my mind? She's not a motivated seller. So I told her, I said, why don't we do this? She said at that time, she told me that she wanted to give the tenant until June 30th, because that was the deadline she gave the tenant in a letter that she wrote to the tenant to move the vehicle. So my response to her at that time was, well, in that case, why don't we wait until after the June 30th before I go to see you at your property? And then okay, before that happens, I actually made a proposal to her. I asked her, I said, maybe we can do this. Maybe I can prepare a listing agreement whereby we put some terms in there that allows you the right to not put it on the market until after June 30th. If you're willing to do that, maybe we can sign the agreement right now. I can go see the property right now. And then she said, hey, that's a great idea. Why don't we make it a 9 months listing? Okay, I thought I got this one already. And then she called me back and said, well, my husband thought otherwise. Okay, at that time, my husband said, there's no need to rush to sign this listing. You know what I said to her? You know, one of the principles that we learned in how to win friends and influence people is to approve and affirm. You know, whenever they say something like that, don't disagree with them. One of the techniques that you use in sales is approving and affirming. So I approve and affirm. I told her, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Why rush into signing a listing contract now? Why don't we wait until after June 30th? So that was how the conversation ended. And then before June 30th, she called me again. She said, I'm okay with signing the contract with you, but it's my husband that is having an issue about signing it right now. So why don't you come on down? Maybe you can persuade him. Maybe it's just an issue of communicating his needs for you, to you. He has actually a couple of concerns that I discovered when I went to see them at the property. So let me finish the story. It has to do with rule number 6, okay? And it's very, very important. So at the property, we actually gather in the backyard. And then I actually asked them, okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and sign the listing agreement now? And the husband actually raised 2 concerns. One concern is he's afraid of getting trapped. He's afraid of getting into a listing agreement and be forced to market the property or put the property on the MLS before the vehicle issue is resolved. So I said, well, that's not a concern because I can put a condition in the listing agreement to address that. Okay, that resolves it. And then secondly, and when a seller asks you how much is your commission, you know he has some interest already because the interest is there, or else he might not ask you how much is your commission, right? So I know they have some motivation at that time. So I said, and I normally don't do this. This is a strange and unique situation. I said, my usual commission is 5%, but I'll let you decide how much commission you want to pay me. That's kind of strange, but I did say that to him. He thought about it. He said, 4%. In this market, I can live with 4%, not a problem at all. Okay. I said 4%. Okay, not a problem. I agree to it. So I left the property, went back, prepared the listing agreement for e-signature. And before I left the property, the wife actually gave me the email and the name of the tenant. The tenant's name is Chris. Okay. And all right. So I went back, prepared the DocuSign. And after I prepared and sent them the DocuSign, I wrote a WeChat message to her. And I got her first name right. I got her last name right. For whatever reason, I look at the realist tax record. There was like a middle name. I know her for her last name for sure, but the middle name seemed like the husband's last name. So I put down the husband's last name as the middle name because on the realist tax record, it has her name, her first name, last name, and the middle name, which is the husband's last name. So I thought I got the name right. I took the trouble to go to realist tax to check the name because I know how important names are. And I got the husband's name correct on the listing agreement. The biggest mistake I made was it was 4 a.m. in the morning when I sent her the WeChat message. And, I just kind of glanced through the WeChat messages above, And one of the messages say something like, it mentioned the tenant's name, Chris, but at that time, I totally forgot that was the tenant's name and not the husband's name. So when I said to her, I said, I sent you the listing agreement. Please have yourself and Chris sign the listing agreement. Oh my God, that was a big mistake because I thought Chris was the husband's American name. I totally messed up on that one. And of course, I apologized profusely. And she wrote me a WeChat message, and she said, uh, you know, you, I mean, professional real estate agents will verify a person's name. You should know better. Of course, I should know better. That's why I went to Realist Tax to verify. And she said, I don't have that middle name that you talked about. I don't know where you got it from. I don't want to create any conflict. So I basically acknowledge, oh, I'm so sorry. I should not have put that middle name there. Okay. And then she kind of surprised me. She said, I just looked at the listing agreement. It had the name Kenny Tan on it. And I look at your Chinese name. Your Chinese name don't match this Kenny Tan. Are you Kenny Tan? And then she asked me to send me copies of a business card, which I did. But the very same rule that I violated, she violated it as well, because she has no right to question my English name and ask me to send my business card, which I did. If I wasn't a salesperson, I would have told her off. I said, this is my name. The fact that it sounds different than my Chinese name is not uncommon. So many of us have English names that sound different from our Chinese names. I don't know why she would want to raise that. Because a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. You don't do these things to people. You do not second guess their names. Okay? But I just left it at that. I think I lost that listing because I called husband by the wrong name, and I put a middle name in there for her in the agreement just because the real estate showed that. I don't know if she's going to contact me back. The husband was a bit finicky to begin with about signing the agreement right now because they really want to sell the property at the end of the year. So I'll just leave it at that, but that's a good lesson learned. Okay? All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the third topic. The third topic, let's see, do I want to do the easy one first? Okay, let's do the easy one first. Let's go to share screen. Let's go to Zipform. Okay. All right. I thought I had that open, but apparently not. Okay. I'm in Zipform. Hope everybody can see my screen. If you cannot see my screen, don't worry about it. Just let me know. I'll fix it. Okay, so say hello to William Tang, Zhang Ping, Andrew Pai. You might want to use your other name, Andrew. And Lily Garapova. I think you have an admirer, Andrew. Okay. All right, you guys are not saying much. You're either tuning me off or you just don't know what to say. All right, let's go ahead and go ahead. Sometimes, you want to say a few things in the chat room just to let me know you're still there. Especially some of you that are watching the training, but I don't see you in the chat room. I don't know if you attended it or not. Okay. And there are people that take attendance for me, so I do take attendance very seriously. So you know, if you're not in attendance, I would know about it, and I will let you know that you're not attending my training. All right, let's go ahead and go into, let's see what's available. Let's go to me. Let's go to profile and settings. All right. Okay, good. Profile and settings. Something is escaping me. And I was trying to look for clauses. Let's see if I can find clauses here. This is forms. I don't want to go to forms. How about I go back to, when I was using it, it was there. I think it's under templates. Yeah, that's right. Clauses. Clauses is under templates. Okay. I want to demonstrate to you how you can use clauses to save time. Now, because Lone Wolf did not get back to me about my request to upgrade my account to a broker account, you're seeing blank here on library clauses. I don't have anything that is global that I can share with every single agent at my office at the moment. But hopefully they will get in touch with me. I'll set it up and I'll be able to share all clauses with you. Right now, the only one that is in my personal one is the escalator clause. So if I want to add a new clause, I'll just click add a new clause. Okay, and then it allows me to do a category. This one, maybe I'll put it under residential lease agreement, because I want to create a residential lease addendum clause. Well, actually, it's the Ninja. I know who you are. You're from Twitch. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and say the, I think it's the residential lease agreement. Okay, so that's the category. Clause title. Clause title is just lease addendum, right? And then I'll put the text here. Okay, the thing is I can't, there's a step that I miss. So let me go ahead and copy the clause one first. Okay, let's go ahead and click, let's go to I know there is a transaction that I did. It was for a residential lease. Okay, I put Irvine. Hopefully all the Irvine transaction will show up. I think I still remember the address. I don't have a lot of Irvine transactions, so there should be very few for me to choose from. Let's see, 3 Eagle Point, Menlo Isle. Oh my God, I got more than what I thought I had. Rockefeller. This is all Rockefeller. Okay. If I look at this, I would know. Oh, okay. Never mind about it, but maybe I'll show you another time. But if you're trying to apply the clause, this is what you do. Say, for example, you are preparing a residential purchase agreement, and you want to use your escalator clause. So what you do is you come here, and we always do the additional clauses in addendum. So you look for the form. It's entitled addendum. So you're going to use addendum number 1. Okay. So if you use addendum number 1, I'll show you how to create the text afterwards. But let's go ahead and apply that clause. So you fill up the rest of the information like the property address. So this, you call this addendum 1, for example, right? So you go ahead and fill in the address information, and then for the clause, if I want to put in an escalator clause here, I can go ahead and you see the pencil here? If I hover over the pencil or click the pencil, it tells me that I can actually insert a clause here. This is my escalator clause. If I want to insert an escalator clause in here, I just go ahead and insert it. So there you go. You don't have to type it, because this is a clause that you can actually trigger the clause manager, so you can have the escalator clause. You see how cool this is? Yeah, it saves you a lot of time. You just need to go ahead and modify the prices, because the number here, $3,000, should be modified. And then the not to exceed amount, the $775,000, should also be modified. Okay? That way you're not putting in the wrong price, and you're not putting in the wrong prices. So that's how you add and ask a clause in your addendum. Some of you may have seen my residential lease agreement addendum. I got a bunch of clauses in the residential lease agreement that I plan to put them in my clause manager and make it global so everybody can make use of it. You don't have to type everything. You can just go ahead and use it. Whatever I share with you, you can use it and then just modify it. Okay? All right, that's it for clause manager. I'm so sorry I could not find that other clause. I'll definitely show it to you again in the future. All right, now we're going to talk about the last topic for the day. Last topic for the day. Let me go back to my Ecamm Live. Last topic for the day. Right here. We're still on share screen mode. So last topic for the day, I'm going to go into my Google Drive. We're talking about unlicensed assistant. Right here. Let me pull out my notes. I wrote this. Oh my God, this is awful. You can't even see this thing, right? So let me see if I can pull out on my Word. My Word, I should be able to find it. This one here. All right, great. So I got it. It's got Chinese and English, but don't worry, it got both Chinese and English. I wrote this from one of my YouTube video. What can an unlicensed do for a real estate broker? First topic we're going to talk about that is cold calling or prospecting. Cold calling of potential prospects. They may refer a prospect. So if I have one of my VA make cold calls, one of my VA actually has experience making cold calls if I want her to make cold calls for me. Having them make cold calls, it's a time-saving idea. So if they call up a prospect, if the prospect indicates that they want to sell their home, then the unlicensed assistant at that point has to refer that prospect to a licensee. It can be a particular licensee or can be the broker. Unlicensed person, after making cold calls, may make an appointment on behalf of a broker or associate licensee. So, and may not induce the person being called to use a broker's services or transaction. No solicitation, in other words. You can give them a certain script, but be careful. You don't try to put in questions that might be bordering on solicitation. One of the questions that might border on solicitation has to do with motivation. For example, if you have that agent ask this person, let's say if you have a virtual assistant, so the script might sound like this. I'm calling about the property in 123 Main Street. Is this the owner? This is a permissible question. There is nothing indicating about solicitation. Okay, and the person might answer, yeah, I'm the owner. Okay, next question might be, oh, good news for you. One of your neighbors just sold their property for $500,000. It's a 4 bedrooms and 3 baths, and it's got 5,000 square feet. That seems a little, it bothers on solicitation as well. But if your assistant simply asks, when do you plan on moving? That's not a solicitation, because if you ask a question, although it might sound like you're trying to solicit, but if you're just asking certain questions without offering the broker service, I think the key thing is about offering the broker services. But here you have not offered any services yet. You're just asking, when do you plan on moving? Even the prior question, great news, one of your neighbors just sold their property for $500,000, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 5,000 square feet, just like yours. Okay. And then you follow up with, when do you plan on moving? Actually, I missed out a part on the script. The script says, You usually when one person sell, two or three will follow in the same neighborhood. When do you plan on moving? I don't think at this point you're offering any broker services yet. You are figuring out if this person is a good prospect or not. Okay, when do you plan on moving? The guy says, "Oh, I'm looking for an agent. I want to sell my home." Okay, at that time, there should be no further questions asked other than for the unlicensed assistant to go ahead and say, "Oh, great. Would you like to speak to a licensed broker or agent?" The person may say, "Yes, I would." Okay, and then you can go ahead and set up the phone appointment or face-to-face appointment, whatever that appointment. No offering of broker services for a particular property. I think the key thing is no offering of broker services for a particular property. At that point, there wasn't any offer to sell their home. A VA, unlicensed assistant, must not offer broker services for a particular property. Okay, so that's cold calling. Now let's talk a little bit about open houses. Open houses with the principal's consent. Unlicensed assistant may perform the following to assist licensees at open houses. Place signs, of course. An unlicensed person should be allowed to assist the agent or broker to place signs. That is definitely permissible. Greet the public. Sometimes I had an unlicensed person there to greet the public. They're there, they get the pens ready, they get the flyers ready, they got the water ready. Okay. And then somebody walks in. What can the unlicensed person do? The licensed person can say, "Welcome to 123 Main Street. My name is so-and-so. Okay, would you please follow me to the kitchen so I can have you sign in?" That's permissible. Definitely permissible. Now, what is not permissible is for the unlicensed person to discuss certain features and benefits of that property. That's not permissible. An unlicensed person can also provide factual information that were prepared from or handing out pre-printed materials prepared or reviewed and approved by the licensee. So if a real estate agent, licensed agent, already prepared flyer, the unlicensed person can hand the flyers to the prospective buyer. That is permissible. Now, if somebody called about the open house and the phone is picked up by the unlicensed person, or somebody wants to see the properties, an unlicensed person can actually arrange appointments for this person to meet with the licensee and the property. Okay, sometimes people just call Zillow and the number can actually be directed or redirected to an unlicensed person who can actually handle this type of phone calls to save the licensed person time. Some of you guys are doing like 35, 40 transactions a year. You should not be doing this kind of thing. You should be having an assistant handle phone calls like that. I imagine if somebody just called and asked for directions to the property, and nothing else, that kind of phone call can be handled by an unlicensed assistant. What an unlicensed person cannot do at the open houses is to show or exhibit the property. That is true. You shouldn't have the unlicensed person accompany the buyers around the house and have conversation with the buyers or prospective buyers about the features and benefits of the house. That is not permissible. Okay. Also, for sure, not permissible to discuss the terms and conditions of a possible sale. Definite no. discuss other features of the property, or engage in solicitation. It's not permissible. Now let's talk about comparative market analysis, CMA. Can you have an unlicensed person prepare CMA? Of course. I do that all the time to save myself time, although because of the time difference, because of the lack of skills of my VA, I'm not asking them to do CMA. You can bet that, once we have more VAs on board, and by them having more experience, I will ask them to do CMA. I will either also get login credential for them to access my MLS account as assistant to go in and gather information. See how much time that would save you. Wouldn't you rather? Why would you want to do CMA? Maybe there is a reason. For example, maybe by doing your own CMA, you're more familiar with the CMA. You feel that you can explain things better to your buyer. But I've been preparing a lot of CMAs when I was doing prospecting with Michael. I was the one that prepared most of the CMAs. When this type of task should have been given to the unlicensed assistant who you can hire for less than $3 an hour US dollars, they are skilled workers. What are we wasting our time on, money on, using US workers when we can use skilled workers at much lower cost overseas? They can do the same thing, just a little bit of inconvenience because of the time difference. But ultimately, the CMA would have to be approved by the licensed agent or broker before it can be transmitted to the client. So definitely not allow your unlicensed assistant to transmit directly. Rather, you should be the one doing it. If you don't want to do it, make sure you have approved it before you ask your assistant to transmit it. All right, now let's talk about communicating with the public. An unlicensed assistant may communicate with the public, may provide factual information about the property. They can provide information just as long as this information is prepared by the licensee. Of course, they cannot talk to the public about solicitation for business. For example, the unlicensed assistant may not say to the public, hey, Centermac Realty is one of the best real estate companies in the world. Use us and you won't regret it. Of course, that is solicitation. You can't do that, right? Now let's go ahead and talk about arranging appointments. That should be done all the time. If you have an assistant, your assistant, if you want to do 100 deals a year, you think you can do all of these things yourself and still do 100 deals a year? No way. That's just impossible. But of course, one reason why some of our top producers are not advancing is because they are not delegating. So they're doing all of these things themselves. How can you go beyond 40 deals a year if you do everything on your own? It's impossible. And also the unlicensed assistant may arrange for or order reports and services from third party. For example, if you want to have a licensed person arrange or order HOA documents, that's a perfect example. Why can't you have your unlicensed assistant order HOA reports? Why can't you have your unlicensed assistant order a termite report, order appraisal report, order any other reports that are necessary? NHD, they don't even have to call. These days, all they have to do is to go to the portal and place the order. They can be trained to do all of these things, which is why the $200 that the company will be charging you guys for in-house TC support will include all of these things so that we can free up all of your time to do more money-making activities, to be involved in money-making activities, or maybe just to spend more time with your family. Why do you want to save a little bit money here and there? Plus, this is being offered to you at such a low cost. It makes perfect sense that the company should be run this way. That way, everybody can be happier. Soon we will be terminating our subscription with Playster. I know Playster has been sending me emails about agent happiness. So I've been reading the email. Agent happiness. So I think to make it a happier place for the agents to work in Centermac, we need to provide better support and better value for our agents so they can make the same amount of money and have more time for their family. That's the whole idea here. That's what I'm talking about, unlicensed assistants today. Hopefully you learn a lot today. And next week, we will have the market update for the Southern California edition of the market update activity, right? So time to say goodbye. And until then, everybody have a wonderful week.